know that I don't want to have to give my numerical rating.
Because John hates this.
Dude, rate it however you want to. The number scale
give
just
it a
works for
5
us.
or whatever. Like,
Give it a what color do you think?
It's gonna on a scale of red to green. This is a blue.
Well, given that this movie takes place in Pittsburgh, I would give it a gray out of 10.
It's a gray out of 10. That's a good rating.
On a scale of red to violet.
I feel like that's mid. I feel that sounds like mid to me.
No, see, I don't know. Though is I think it made a lot of the concepts and ideas within MMA and UFC like palatable to a general audience, because the bits and pieces that I have seen of UFC, it seems like it's a very like technical sport and like kind of complicated in that regard, but like I was able to understand very complicated moves and submissions. What was that one thing called? Is that the omoplata or whatever?
Omoplata.
Yeah,
I'm surprised you remembered that. Yeah.
Oh,
that was actually sick that you remembered that.
I saw a video of some guy on the streets of Brazil get his arm broken in an omoplata like a week ago.
God.
So that's why I remember it.
You're super hyped up.
Dude, yeah. It was like, what?
It's like a Kimura on your stomach, ain't it? Like when you're
you like
other guy's on
roll.
his stomach. Go back to like 96, the first UFC event, they were pulling hair. Like, I don't think you could hit someone in the groin. That was like it. Anything else was allowed. You could throw them over the cage.
You couldn't bite
them.
Like,
I don't think
or like hit the groin.
Do you think they would ever do an event like that in the UFC, or have they, where it would be like 4 fights in 2 days?
I thought that was a real event.
They have.
No, it was called Pride Grand Prix and stuff like that. There was other ones. The first UFC was like
UFC
that.
1 was like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was tournament.
It was all in the same night.
And you know who won it? Which I think is why they did it like this. Do you know who won it? He was like 5'7", 5'6", like
170 pounds.
170-pound Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighter. And so he didn't really punch anyone, but he would just submit them, pull their hair, all that shit. Like I remember, like
he beat Ken Shamrock.
Everybody. It's funny going into the event. Sorry, once again, but people didn't think it was real. They were like, "This is just a show. It's rigged." And then, like a sumo wrestler fought like I forget what he was a kickboxer, but it was like a different type. Kicked his head off, like just kicked him right in the face. And they were like, "Whoa, this is real!" Like it was really cool.
Did he actually kick his head off?
No, not literally, but
if you edit that in later, it's like
should.
This shit looks like the street fight videos like you get on Twitter. Like the sumo wrestler. The sumo wrestler like falls down and he's like sitting on his butt, and the kickboxer just like soccer kicks him in the face.
It's pretty.
It's so wild.
I'd like also that they really actually this brings up two topics, but Brendan was training even before he started training. I like that they included that in the movie as like a hint that he was fighting, because they're talking about like the scars on his face, and he's like working out in the garage and stuff.
Yeah.
Before you realize he's fighting again. But
I actually really like that scene because it's like a clever sort of subversion where it's like, you see him working out in the morning, like just like pumping iron, but you don't realize that it's for preparing for a fight. You just think that he's like an early riser, just getting an early workout in. I thought that was kind of clever.
That's how it was in Philly.
What was up with that group of teenagers that was like, you just like follow them around for like 2 scenes? It was so funny. It's like, yo, Mr. What was his name? I can't remember his last name.
Mr. C. It was dude. You don't remember? It's Brendan Conlon.
That guy up in the parking lot.
Yeah, they do use some like UFC terms like from back then. Like they say tuned up a lot. Like you don't really hear that outside of like a fight place, like where they train.
Yeah, it's funny.
An MMA gym. As that when you fight for like a better reason, you're going to do better. And that's something interesting is Tommy does really well because he's not really fighting for a bad reason either,
Yeah.
But it is also going to destroy him. He's also destroying himself, like trying to get it. I wanted to mention this.
He knocks people out.
I feel like that's just badass. That was just like a really badass.
It's just
thing he did in
hard.
the movie.
I kind of got the
I'm gonna be
perspective that he was
honest, that was
like
just
running,
hard.
like he was running from the whole military thing, and so people don't find
Yeah,
out.
the door was red
Oh, that could
because
be it,
it
yeah.
represented his emotions. But no, I think it was just badass. I don't think maybe that scene was just cool. Maybe that's
I think it's because he I think associates fighting for glory with his dad and his childhood. So he still wants to fight, but he doesn't want the glory
Wow.
that comes along with it.
because it does seem like he hates fighting. It does like kind of imply that like he really doesn't want to
Yeah.
do it, but this is the best way he could think to get money,
Yeah.
especially because he's
His-
running from the military.
His dad brings that chart up to him of like him versus like that fucking Greek guy.
I can't
He's like,
remember
how
his
many
name.
wins did you get? And he's like get that like away, like put that back where you found it and like cover it up. He's like he doesn't want anything to do with it. Very functionally strong.
Three necks, you know.
Yeah, dude, I do want to say I did get a little sad when Rumble Johnson came on because if you guys don't know, but he
Yeah,
passed away like a month ago. Like the very first guy that Brendan beats, the black guy,
Midnight.
he got like some skin disease or something, and he was
Yeah.
like, I pulled up his record before we started. He was like 22-6 or something like that. Like he was really good. He fought like very top level guys. He
Fought John Jones,
He beat
didn't he?
Glover. Yeah, he fought John Jones. He beat Glover Teixeira. He knocked him out.
Yeah,
He beat
he was
Gustafson.
champion.
Holy
That's
shit!
crazy.
Yeah,
I didn't remember that. Those are some
Yeah,
pretty
dude, he's
top
got-
tier fighters. Because I assume you guys don't know that, but those are some top tier fighters.
yeah.
I just wanted to get your guys' opinion on like how the fight scenes were shot because I really liked how they shot them like ground level, like with the fighter, and like they had a lot of shots like behind the cage, so it made it feel like you were there or like you were watching it, like right outside the cage. I just thought that was really interesting. And I feel like movies don't really do that in fight scenes. So yeah.
I thought a lot of the scenes like not shot while fighting were shot like in an interesting way where they're like zoomed up in on their faces, but you can't even see like the top of their head. Like I don't know. It was just
Hey, letting
it
their
was kinda
face
weird at times.
letting the face do what they need to do. You know,
Interesting,
that's the best piece of acting you got right there is your face. So
It makes perfect sense for a movie like
yeah.
this.
So
Yeah.
I would say I
thought
liked that they were pretty up close in a lot of the fights. They weren't afraid to like make sure you saw what was happening. Like they weren't trying to make sure you like a lot of movies will make it like seem like a trick and just like show them on the ground all of a sudden or something and you don't really see what happened. But I feel like you're pretty aware of what's happening in the fight the whole time during all of them.
They filmed it well just because of how like non-intuitive like the ground game is in MMA. Like they did a good job, I think, of making like letting the audience understand like if they don't know what passing guard is and like getting to mount, they filmed it in a way where you can tell like, oh, like he just did something important there. Or like when he has like his like leg in a submission, like you know he's not just like hugging his leg, like you know something like shitty is happening to the other guy. Like they filmed it, I think, in a good way.
The announcers help that. I think they get a good job with the announcers, actually. I forgot to bring that up earlier. The announcing, they're sometimes a little corny. That's kind of how the announcers are anyway. Yeah, that's how it goes. Some shit comes across corny.
I mean, as someone who's like never like watched UFC or really cares that much, like I felt like I wasn't missing anything at any point during this movie for not knowing like the technical details of what's actually happening.
It wasn't confusing, and that can happen really easily when like a wrestler fights in the UFC when they take someone down, and you're like, what is even happening right now?
What's
like,
his goal
you
here?
almost need
what's he going
somebody.
for?
Yeah, you almost need somebody to explain to you. Like, if you don't watch it a lot, it can be really tough to understand right away, unless two people are just throwing bombs at each other.
And
But then like right after, like the only fight after that scene, Tommy loses, right?
Yeah.
So like
there's another fight before that. He fights Mad Dog and crushes him right before that.
Okay.
Because it's two fights on the same day. Two fights the first day, two fights the second day.
Yeah.
Yeah, he crushes Mad Dog.
It was
Dog's a
nice to
bitch,
see.
dude.
Fuck Mad Dog. Fuck Mad Dog. I think we can all agree. I love when he's like, it was sparring. It could happen to anybody. It's actually, I forgot to talk about that. One other thing that's unrealistic And they would never let that happen in sparring. If you were piecing up their top fighter like that, they would absolutely pull you out, and they might even throw you out of the gym, like because you can't do that to people in sparring.
And the video getting out, dude,
because
like,
then they get hurt, and then they can't fight. Like
if you
forgot all about that. That is the whole Moby Dick motif that's really going on. Is like, yeah, he's becoming his dad by he's trying not to be like, because he's like, I hate you, I'm not you, screw that. He's becoming like his dad, you know, like
in the pursuit to like defeat the beast, he becomes it. Like he
becomes the monster. Yeah. You stare into the abyss, all that stuff. Yeah. Are you the same beast but a different animal, or what? Is that what it is? Yeah, same beast, different animal.
Everybody wants to be a beast until it's time to do what beasts do.
Beasts do. Were we talking about anything else specific, or are we ready to go on to like the